Welcome back to our channel, where we dive deep into the heart of Port Charles every single week. Today is a fantastic day to unpack some of the most dramatic shifts we have ever witnessed on our favorite daytime drama, General Hospital. As longtime viewers, we have seen generations rise and fall, but nothing quite prepares us for the evolution of a character we have watched grow up right before our eyes. As someone who has followed General Hospital for decades, I have seen my fair share of character transformations. We have watched innocent nurses become hardened mob bosses and street-smart kids evolve into brilliant doctors. However, I must confess that watching Jocelyn Jack's transition over this past year has been one of the most fascinating, complex, and deeply unsettling journeys the writers have ever crafted. For those of us who have been tuning in since the glory days of the 1980s and 90s, we know that the World Security Bureau, or the WSB, is not an organization for the faint of heart. It is a world of shadows, moral ambiguity, and ruthless efficiency. To see Jocelyn, who for so long was the quintessential privileged teenager of Port Charles, step into this dark arena and absolutely thrive is nothing short of a television marvel. I find myself completely captivated by her journey, even as I recognize the profound tragedy embedded within her newfound success. When we look at Jocelyn's recent trajectory, we have to acknowledge that she has become an exceptional WSB agent almost overnight. The narrative suggests that Jack McKenna may have lured her into this dangerous life, but from my perspective as a longtime critic of the show, I completely disagree with the notion that Jocelyn is merely a victim of manipulation. She is not a pawn. She is a natural-born operative. She loves this job, and what is truly shocking to everyone around her, and perhaps even to us as the audience, is just how incredibly proficient she is at the art of espionage. She has shed her previous self-righteousness and embraced the cold, calculated pragmatism required to survive in the intelligence community. This brings me to her instrumental role in the recent takedown of Ross Cullum. According to the upcoming events we are anticipating in July, Jocelyn has proven her worth by navigating a labyrinth of lies to secure the release of Valentine Cassadine and Jason Morgan from WSB custody. I want to draw your attention to a specific, brilliant tactical move she made. Jocelyn deliberately spread a false narrative that the late Cassius Faison, who we all know as the fake Nathan West, was actually the primary ally of Jen Sidwell rather than Cullum. This was a masterstroke of misdirection. By smearing Cassius's reputation, she achieved her operational goals. Naturally, this has provoked the absolute fury of Liesl Obrecht, who is fiercely protective of Cassius's memory and is rightfully tearing into Jocelyn for this deception. But from a purely analytical standpoint, Jocelyn's willingness to sacrifice a dead man's honor to achieve a strategic victory demonstrates a level of ruthless cunning that I never thought she possessed. It shows she understands the fundamental rule of the WSB: the mission always supersedes personal morality. However, the true cost of Jocelyn's transformation is not measured in her clashes with formidable women like Liesl Obrecht, but rather in the devastating collateral damage inflicted upon her own family. The situation with Lucas Jones is, in my opinion, one of the most heartbreaking storylines General Hospital has delivered in recent memory. Lucas is a fundamentally decent man who genuinely believed he shared a deep, unbreakable bond of trust with his niece. When the issue of moving to Windermere on Spoon Island arose, Carly was vehemently against it, sensing the inherent dangers. Yet Jocelyn actively encouraged Lucas to make the move. As viewers, we might have initially thought she was just being rebellious or supporting her uncle's independence. The devastating truth, which we now know, is that Jocelyn was using Lucas as a convenient entry point to gain access to Spoon Island and, by extension, to Cullum. When Jocelyn finally confessed this manipulation to Lucas, the emotional fallout was palpable. I felt a profound sense of sorrow for Lucas. He realized in that moment that he was not a cherished uncle to her, but merely a chess piece on her operational board. Jocelyn offered a sincere apology, and I do believe she felt genuine regret for hurting him. But the defining moment, the moment that truly solidified her identity as a WSB agent, occurred when Lucas asked her the ultimate question. He needed to know if she would ever do something like that to him again. Instead of offering a comforting lie, Jocelyn admitted that she would. She confirmed that she would sacrifice his trust all over again if the mission required it. This chilling admission is the hallmark of a true spy. It is the exact same moral compromise we have seen legendary characters make time and time again. Jocelyn has internalized the belief that her job is to do whatever is necessary, entirely bypassing traditional concepts of right and wrong. This brings us to the explosive dynamic between Jocelyn and her mother, Carly Spencer. Carly is in a state of absolute, unmitigated panic, and frankly, I cannot blame her. As a parent, watching your child actively choose a life where they are shot at, targeted by international criminals, and stripped of their moral compass is a living nightmare. Carly recently almost lost Jocelyn to a gunshot wound, and she places the blame squarely on the shoulders of the WSB. In Carly's mind, the organization is a corrupting force that has stolen her daughter. But Carly is suffering from a massive blind spot, one that is deeply rooted in her historic need to control her children's narratives. Carly is stubbornly clinging to the delusion that Jack McKenna brainwashed Jocelyn and that if she just pushes hard enough, Jocelyn will happily walk away from the spy life. Carly believes she can simply demand her daughter's resignation and everything will go back to normal. This is where I find myself deeply sympathetic to Carly's maternal terror, yet entirely frustrated by her refusal to accept reality. Jocelyn is not a hostage. She is a willing and eager participant. The upcoming scenes where Carly realizes the extent of what Jocelyn did to Lucas will undoubtedly be explosive. Carly will see firsthand the emotional carnage her daughter is now capable of inflicting, and it will shatter her illusion of Jocelyn's innocence. The sheer audacity of Carly's denial is beautifully highlighted by her interactions with Z, played brilliantly by John Oliver. Z represents the institutional weight of the WSB, and he sees Jocelyn for exactly what she is, a prodigy. When Z praises Jocelyn for her exceptional work, he makes a comparison that should send shivers down the spine of any longtime General Hospital fan. He compares Jocelyn to the legendary Anna Devane. For older viewers like us, we know the gravity of that statement. We remember a young Anna Devane, full of fire, making impossible choices, lying to those she loved, and carrying the heavy burden of global security on her shoulders. To be compared to Anna is the highest honor in the intelligence world of Port Charles, but it is also a grim prophecy of a life filled with danger, isolation, and profound personal sacrifice. When Carly confronts Z and demands that he release her daughter from the WSB, Z's reaction is absolutely priceless. He practically laughs in her face. I have to admit, I found a dark sense of satisfaction in that moment. For years, Carly has bulldozed her way through Port Charles, using her sheer force of will to bend situations to her liking. But the WSB does not care about Carly Spencer's maternal outrage. Z laughing at Carly is a stark visualization of her complete powerlessness in this new arena. She cannot scream, threaten, or buy her way out of this situation because the person keeping Jocelyn in the WSB is Jocelyn herself. As we look toward the future, specifically the upcoming weeks in July, the tension between this mother and daughter is only going to escalate into a full-blown war. We are about to witness a radical shift in their dynamic. Carly is notoriously stubborn, but she is now dealing with a daughter who has been trained to withstand psychological pressure and manipulation. Jocelyn is adopting an icy resolve that Carly simply does not know how to penetrate. I believe this storyline is laying the groundwork for a permanent fracture in their relationship. Carly is going to have to make a devastating choice. She can either continue to fight a losing battle to control Jocelyn, thereby pushing her entirely out of her life, or she can swallow her immense fear and accept the dangerous, morally compromised woman her daughter has chosen to become. Furthermore, this storyline intersects beautifully with the broader canvas of Port Charles. With Jason Morgan's official return scheduled for July 13th, right in time for the monumental 16,000th episode, I am intensely curious to see how he reacts to the new Jocelyn. Jason knows the toll that a life of violence and moral ambiguity takes on a soul. Will he see a reflection of his own dark choices in Jocelyn's eyes? Will he try to intervene? Or will he recognize that she is already too far gone down the rabbit hole? And how will Jocelyn's newfound status affect her interactions with figures like Sonny Corinthos, who is currently busy plotting against Valentine and Carly's secret romance? Jocelyn is no longer just a bystander in the mob and espionage wars of Port Charles. She is an active, lethal player on the board. In conclusion, I have to commend the writers of General Hospital for taking such a massive risk with Jocelyn's character. It would have been easy to keep her in the familiar lanes of hospital drama or romantic entanglements. Instead, they have thrust her into the deep end of the espionage pool, forcing us to grapple with uncomfortable questions about duty, truth, and the limits of familial love. Jocelyn has crossed a threshold, trading her innocence for power and purpose. While it breaks my heart to see the pain she is causing people like Lucas and Carly, I cannot look away from the screen. She is a super agent in the making, a brilliant, flawed, and dangerous new force in Port Charles, and I, for one, am strapped in for every thrilling, heartbreaking moment of this ride.